As is often the case with human beings and human nature, there's often no balance, no happy medium. What we need often is something in the middle, a happy medium, a balance, but we often just go from one extreme to another. Things are always black and white, it has to be this or one thing or the other, very binary, black and white, you have to we swing often from one extreme to another, and this is often the case politically as well, and the way that we deal with certain issues and situations. I'm thinking very briefly, obviously a massive subject, but very briefly, I've been thinking about safeguarding of vulnerable people and minors. We're in an environment now where things have become almost paranoid and overly suspicious. We are suspecting people too quickly and too easily of doing bad things. We are sort of looking at people as guilty until proven innocent instead of the other way around. We're looking at people with too much suspicion. We become paranoid about people's intentions and people's character. When it comes to people being working with or being in the company of vulnerable people or minors, under 16s. Safeguarding, I believe, has gone too far now. We've become paranoid. We've gone from one extreme, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, where everything was so lax and so loose and so the other way, that terrible things were allowed to happen, bad things, scandalous things. We don't have to. We can all think of some very well-known names on that one. Bad things were allowed to happen because there was a culture of hush hush secrecy. You couldn't be believed if you wanted to report something. You were not allowed to say anything. The secrecy, and terrible things happened because there weren't the controls. Bad things happened, and that was another extreme back then in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where we didn't have any protocols or enough protocols, so terrible things were allowed to happen. But now we've gone to the opposite extreme where we're overly suspicious, overly paranoid, overly protective, and it's just all so unnatural now. We've gone to the opposite extreme. We don't trust people. We're overly suspicious, overly protective, artificially suspicious, and it's taken the naturalness out of the way that we deal with each other from one extreme to another.